did they let it happen on purpose? That is a big question swirling around. And here is what they have to say about it themselves.
According to the New York Times, Israel obtained Hamas's battle plan for October 7th more than a year in advance. And I've seen some of the documents myself. I mean, the ones I saw were October 2022. The Times points out that the Hamas documents that they saw are shockingly close to reality. They called for a barrage of rockets at the outset of the attack. Hamas did that. They called for breaking through the wall. Hamas did that. They called for entering via paraglider. Hamas did that. They called for entering via motorcycle. Hamas did that. Mark, do you know why this document was dismissed?
Well, it's clear there was an amazing mishap, failure.
Oh,
there's no excuses for it.
Mm-hmm. But
we have to look into this. We paid for our mistakes on October 7th in blood, in the blood of over 1,200 Israelis who were murdered.
Oopsie, y'all! Oopsies! I mean, this is the most surveilled piece of real estate in the entire world. They know what every square inch of it is fucking doing. Oopsies! We had no idea. Yikes!
This is like an Epstein situation. Like they fucking knew, dude.
Oh no, y'all! We definitely didn't know this was gonna happen and let it happen on purpose so we could bomb the shit out of the Palestinian people and take their land. Definitely didn't do it, y'all. It was a big mistake. So immediately our government resigned. We took full responsibility. You didn't. You used it as an excuse to bomb the shit and do ethnic cleansing. Oh my! And then I know this is gonna be a shock to everybody, but apparently border surveillance footage from October 7th has disappeared. Big mistake. And the footage seems to have gone missing. They Epstein the shit.
Where is it? Where'd it go?
Military surveillance video from the Gaza border from October 7th, the day of the Hamas surprise attack, has disappeared. Israeli news site Walla reported on 3 December. We
lost it.
Senior officers in the reserves.
We lost it. I'm sorry.
Invisible hand had deleted. During a visit by a senior female officer from the Israeli Army General Staff to the various division headquarters, senior officers in the reserves commented that an invisible hand had deleted videos from the various military surveillance cameras showing the event of that day, the Hebrew language outlet stated. The videos were deleted from the military network known as ZTube, potentially to prevent their use in an in-depth investigation. But the guy just said it was a mistake that has to be investigated. You saying that they're not going to investigate themselves? Of how thousands of Hamas fighters managed to breach the border fence and infiltrate Israel to carry out the attack. I wonder, it's a mystery how they managed to do that. We sat down with one of the generals and we're going to show him a video about one of the events, and we found out that someone had deleted the video, said a senior reserve officer from one of the divisions, adding, it was very embarrassing. And then suspicion arose as to why someone would do that. I wonder. I am so curious. And at the end of the excuses started that it was decided to give special privileges to certain officers to view the footage. Do officers in our ranks need privileges? It looks like a war between generals and officials. There is a feeling that everyone is now trying to take care of themselves for the day after, when an investigation to the events of that day takes place. Israeli officials, including top generals and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, have acknowledged the Hamas attack in which 1,200 Israeli soldiers, they originally said it was 1,400, but then they admitted that they are the ones that murdered a lot of those people themselves, and some of them were their own people. They did do that. That was another clip that went viral. So, yeah, that probably has a lot to do with it. And civilians were killed resulting from an intelligence failure. Such a failure, I'm sure. However, they insisted the events of that day cannot be investigated until after the war in Gaza. Oh, really? Can't investigate it until after we've killed them all. Yeah, we have to eradicate them and do ethnic cleansing first and take all their land and take all their shit before we can investigate ourselves to whether we let it all happen or not to make the war possible. In which some 20,000 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli bombing ends. Officials in Gaza division said that there was also a disruption in recordings of the audio communications from 7th of October. According to them, some of the recordings have disappeared or were simply downloaded from the network and transferred to another location at the direction of commanders. We weren't able to hear them. Someone decided to transfer or delete them so that no one will hear them. The recordings tell the whole story of what happened. what we did, especially in the first 8 hours and in the moments when there was really no one to talk to. Slightly suspicious, just slightly, but I guess nothing to see here, folks. It's all good. And then, according to Chris Hedges' report, there's growing evidence that in a chaotic fighting that took place once Hamas militants entered Israel on October 7th, the Israeli military decided to target not only Hamas fighters, but the Israeli captives with them. Tuval Eskapa, who I nailed the pronunciation of, a member of the security team for Kibbutz Be'eri, told the Israeli press he set up a hotline to coordinate between kibbutz residents and the Israeli army. Eskaba told the Israeli newspaper Haaretz that as desperation began to set in, the commanders in the field made difficult decisions, including shelling houses on their occupants in order to eliminate the terrorists along with hostages. The newspaper reported that Israeli commanders were compelled to request an aerial strike against its own facility inside the Erez crossing to Gaza in order to repulse the terrorists who had seized control. That base housed Israeli civil administration officers and soldiers. Israel.
So there's literally like a war.
Policy called Hannibal.
There is a war in the Israeli military right now amongst like generals and shit. Like there's probably leftist generals and like more conservative generals, and one's like, don't do this, and then like other ones are like doing it just to fucking fuck with the other guy, and then you know what I'm saying? Like there is a I don't know what the fuck the exact word for it is, but there's like yeah, like a war in a deep state, basically. They said it.
And soldiers. Israel in 1986 instituted a military policy called Hannibal Directive, apparently named for the Carthaginian general who poisoned himself rather than be captured by the Romans. Following the capture of 2 Israeli soldiers by Hezbollah, the directive is designed to prevent Israeli troops from falling into enemy hands through the maximum use of force, even at the cost of killing the captured soldiers and civilians. The directive was executed during the 2014 Israeli assault on Gaza known as Operation Protective Edge. Hamas fighters on August 1st, 2014 captured an Israeli officer, Lieutenant Hadar Golden. In response, Israeli dropped more than 2,000 bombs, missiles, and shells on the area where he was being held. So if you're wondering why they're shelling the shit out of Gaza when it could easily kill and has killed the hostages, when they claim they don't want the hostages back, it's because they don't give a shit about their own hostages. Not even a little bit. They don't even give a shit about their own military. Not even a little bit. So, yeah. Meanwhile, before the 2